Wake that ass up
early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line right now, Gina Brillon. Did I say it right? I tried to roll the L's.
You did.
Almost.
I did. You killed it. You killed it. You killed those
right.
L's. You did.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gina. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are y'all doing? How's everybody doing?
Blessed, black, and highly favored. How you been quarantining? How you been holding up during this whole, global pandemic? Even though we've moved on to something else, but how are you holding up?
Yeah. The pandemic for me, I'm probably about 7 months pregnant. So the pandemic for me has been a lot of just me chilling. Thank you. Yeah, it's just been me chilling, taking care of myself, and concentrating on having a healthy pregnancy because that became priority for me once we hit this pandemic.
Right. Now, I want to ask,
have you been going to any doctor's appointments or anything?
I was going to ask that. Yeah, because I know they closed down a lot of doctor's appointments and stuff.
Yeah, my doctor, thankfully, they're just very cautious. Like, they space out the appointments now. You got to wear a mask when you come in. You can only come in by yourself. Like, my husband can't come with me. I got to go into the appointments by myself. Yeah, it sucks for him because I'm like, he doesn't get to experience being a part of that anymore. And I feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. And I can't even have my phone out. Like, I can't video call him or anything. Like, while I'm
getting the sonograms. He can't see none of that or none.
I just saved the pictures for him. And that's the most I can do, which is probably the worst part about it. But other than that, going to the doctor has been such a welcome relief because they keep telling me, like, this is what the procedure is going to be like once you get to the hospital now. That there's only one person allowed in the room with you. And, like, they're walking me through how it's going to be now because of the pandemic.
So at least they'll let your husband in the room and when you're having the baby. They'll let him there. But before, not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Now, as far as your stand-up, do you think you would have taken a break because you're pregnant, or did the quarantine just make you have to sit down anyway?
Nah, there was no break planned, honestly. I was booked up until 30 weeks of pregnancy, which is pretty much as far as you can get booked before you can't travel anymore. I was planning on working this whole time, so the quarantine definitely affected that work, which sucked. But, you got to roll with the punches when something like this happens. I can't fight it. Like, there was nothing I could do about it. I just had to take the L and move on.
Do you have any good pregnancy jokes now, being at home and pregnant with your husband?
I actually had to, just before the pandemic happened, I did a whole 9-minute set. I think it was a 9-minute set for HBO on being pregnant because I was pregnant during the time we were shooting it. So I had to write a whole thing about it. And now with all the experiences I've had, everything I've been writing down now is about the craziness of being pregnant and how much your body changes.
Are you craving anything? Are you craving anything fiending? Like, my wife used to love strawberries and vanilla ice cream and slushy from 7-Eleven. I would have to go in the middle of the night, go get a slushy.
Donuts. I'm not even gonna lie, donuts, 24/7 donuts. That's all I want. That's all I want is donuts.
Now, in your special, you're very honest about a lot of different things like online dating, The Floor is Lava, which is on Prime Video right now. And your husband is a white Midwestern man. So what are those conversations like at home with everything that's happening with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor and all of that? What's going on at home?
I'm glad you asked that because there's been a lot of people that have just on Instagram and Facebook that have been hitting me up about stuff like that. And we've had a couple of really difficult conversations where I had to explain a lot to him, but he's always been very open to stuff like that. I'm glad I married a man who's very open-minded and willing to learn and not stuck in his ways. Because, how you grow up, how you are molded as a person sticks with you for so many years that you become unable to listen to another person's side and to really learn. But right away, we were on the same page about everything that's going on, about the injustices, about what needs to be done. And it was so refreshing to sit down with him and have these difficult conversations, but have them go very well.
Was he aware prior to all of this? Was he aware of systemic racism and white supremacy? Was he aware that Black and brown people get treated differently?
He was very aware. He was in the Army and would tell stories about having been in the Army and having seen what goes on and how people are treated differently. He's also aware of the amount of times his privilege has saved him in situations where if he was a person of color, he would not have gotten off. he's very aware of that, which sets a good foundation for the conversations about what needs to change.
Right. Now, Gina, was he also aware that you were looking to go hoe out when you first met him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I told him. I was like, I met you right at the smack beginning of what was supposed to be my hoe phase. And you messed up my hoe phase. You wasn't supposed to be in the picture. And I met you. And then that hoe phase went out the window. I was like, I can't do my hoe phase now because I liked him right away.
Hold on,
Right
Gina,
away. So tell me about that
What-
energy right away. How do you know you like somebody like that right away? Like, how does that just, what was it about
so
him?
Crazy. I've never felt this way about anybody. But I was working on a cruise ship for like a month, and it was the first day. And, you know, like I say in the special, I got on that ship and I was ready to be wild. I was tired of looking for a relationship. I was like, yo, I'm done. I'm tired of looking for somebody. I'm just going to get on the ship and go wild. And then it's the first meeting and it's all the entertainers, and my husband's a musician. And I go to the meeting, and sitting across from me is just the most handsome man I've ever seen. Like immediately I was like, that's the most handsome man I've ever seen. And I just had a crush on him. And like, once I fixate on somebody, that's it. I'm like, I like that person. That's it. I got to find out what's up with that person. So it just became about finding out what he was about.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Talking to him and chilling with him.
So being that was your whole phase, was that the first white guy you ever been with? Did you have that on the checklist? Like, let me get with a white guy.
Not the first white guy I had ever been with. The first white guy I dated was when I was like 19. And that was weird for me because I never thought white guys would be into me. Because my older sister, she dated white guys, but she was real petite and tiny. And I've always been thick. And I never knew white guys to like thick chicks. So I was like, it's over for me. No white guy's going to like me. Like, that's it. It's Spanish guys for the rest of my life. Like, it's just, I was like, that's it. I didn't even think about it. So that was a weird dynamic during my first relationship because I was like questioning whether he was really attracted to me.
Right. So
What was he having going?
What did you think it was? And you thought it was just the fact that, you know, it's a different than being white, an exotic thing? What did you think it was?
I thought it was more of an exotic thing, like almost a fetish. Like, so he could say he'd been with a Spanish girl. Like, oh, my girl's Puerto Rican. Like, just some people have fetishes like that. They just want to be with someone of a different race to say they did it.
How long did it take to go Puerto Rican on him?
Not long. Yo, not long.
What was his reaction?
He was scared. Like, he got real scared because I got real jealous. For the first time I dated a white guy, like, this girl was sitting next to him. He was a comic too. This girl was sitting next to him at an open mic. And I walked up to the table and he introduced me to the girl. And I didn't introduce myself. I shook her hand and said, get the hell out of my seat. And he just looked at me and I was like, she need to move out of my seat. Like, that's my seat. Why are you sitting next to her? I don't understand what's going on right now. I don't know her.
I love that.
I don't care to know you. And I just was like, get out of my seat. And she did. She moved. She left.
She's a comedian.
Of course she did.
Have you ever seen her again, that comedian?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you see it frequently? What
y'all
is the
joke about
conversation
it?
like now?
Now we're cool. Like, now we're chill. It's just like, I think I've always been that person that's like, if you're around my man, I just have to state my claim. As long as you know and I know, then we're good. Then we're good. Just
That's
be
smart.
respectful. That's all.
That's right. Because if she disrespect you, then she earned every bit of that ass cutting she gonna
Exactly. Exactly.
What
You
about
knew what it was.
What about families? Like, how did his family feel? How did your family feel? Because sometimes it becomes an issue when you date outside your race.
My first white boyfriend, his dad would make all of these, like, jabs at me, like these little racial comments. And it really pissed me off because I didn't know how to react. I was like, do I go off on your father? Or do I make you go off on your father? Because this is a weird situation. Like, one time I was getting ready for a wedding. I was going, to a wedding in New Jersey with the first white guy. And I came out all ready and dressed, and I had this floral dress on. And his dad goes, maybe they wear dresses to weddings. Maybe they wear dresses like that to weddings where you come from, but that's not what we do here. And my boyfriend at the time said nothing. And I just looked at him and I was like, I'm gonna let you handle this because I'm gonna leave the room right now. Because I was like, I I think it's also a Latino thing that your respect for someone's parents is built in, which is such a huge thing amongst people of color in general. Like we're taught to respect our elders and never say anything. And so I held my tongue, but that would be the last time I would ever hold my tongue with that man. Mm. And I vowed it. I was like, this is the last time.
And he never stood up for you, your man?
Never.
Oh, he wasn't the one then. At all.
No, not at all. We did not last long after that.
He's pussy.
Yeah, essentially. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, yo, you had a chance to step up to the plate. I was going to let you handle it so that I don't look disrespectful, because then another thing that I was always raised with, especially my mom, kind of, taught me, you can't just wild out on anybody, because then you're the angry Puerto Rican girl. Your anger can't be justified, because now you're the angry ethnic girl in any situation where you wild out on somebody. So when you talk to somebody, you always have to talk with respect. You always have to keep your tone monotone. Like, it's like I wasn't allowed to have emotions for so long. And it took me until I got out of college to be like, no, my voice needs to be heard, no matter what the situation. Yeah.
Are you more emotional now since you're pregnant? Have you been having those ups and downs?
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could say no. Like, I want to be that person that's like, nah, I'm good.
It's understandable.
But I get real emotional. You just can't help it. Like, it's not just a hormonal thing. It's a life thing. Mm-hmm. When I think about bringing a child into this world and the lessons that will have to be taught to this child, mm-hmm. and all of the pressures that brings, you can't help but get emotional about it. Whether, you're sad or frustrated or whatever, it's going to happen, because it's a huge thing to take on, not just as a woman, just like with my husband too, as a person, to take on parenthood is insane.
Especially with everything going on with COVID-19 and police brutality. It's like, what do you tell your kids when they start getting older and older? How do you protect them? You can't. You just got to continue to pray.
Yeah, you have to have these adult conversations with kids now, and it's almost heartbreaking to watch. Especially for people of color, talking to their kids and explaining to them the difference,
right,
in how they will be treated. Mm-hmm. Like, that's heartbreaking. If that doesn't break your heart, you are a soulless person. If that does not break your heart.
Absolutely.
The amount of videos I've seen of, Black fathers talking to their kids and just being like, mm-hmm. you're going to be treated differently. You have no choice in the matter. You will be treated differently.
And we were talking the other day, not even that, just the social life for kids now. It's like the little things that we take for granted. I was saying the other day, like, on my birthday, you would get a gold sticker for your birthday, or you get a munchkin. Like, that was happening. But for these kids today, they don't get none of that. There is no social, there's no social life. They don't have any friends. They haven't seen their friends in months. And it's very difficult for those kids. Very difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult at the house? For kids.
Munchkins?
You gotta have a steady supply of munchkins at home then.
You can get them some gold
going on over there.
I gotta mention munchkins now. I'm gonna have to go out.
You can
I'm
order
go
that.
And get munchkins now. You can't tell me about munchkins. I just told you about the donuts.
Now, Gina, as a woman from the
Bronx,
what
are you reaching for? You reaching for a donut right now? What are you reaching for?
No, my water. I'm like, drink water. Don't drink water.
Leave her alone. Let her eat her munchkins. Now, Gina, as a woman from the Bronx, I got to ask you, could you see yourself raising your kid in the Bronx or in New York City? Because, you always talk about how tough it is for people to make it in New York. But is that the plan? What's the plan?
The plan is definitely to raise my son here. There's something about being raised in New York because it's such an eclectic place. Mm-hmm. Is it tough? Yeah, but there are so many different cultures. There are so many different lessons you can learn from growing up in New York, just being street smart. The people that I've met from just places that are not as eclectic, that are not as open artistically, and have these great and fun neighborhoods to visit and see and experience, they come to New York and their eyes are open. They're just amazed by New York. So I can't wait to raise my son here. It's going to be as challenging as anybody that was raised in New York, But in the end, I think it sets a really good foundation for him to be anywhere else and adapt.
And your husband was cool with that, being from the Midwest, where I'm sure there's more space for your money and things like that matter.
It was a struggle more when we first got married to get him to be on board with New York. He was down to move here because he fell in love with New York the first time he came here. But getting him here and understanding how expensive it is here, how little space you have here, you know, how to navigate around New York, it was totally different from him. He grew up in a house in the suburbs of Indiana. So for him, it was a big culture shock. And it took a while for him to get into the swing of things. But I mean, he loves New York as much as I do. So now he's ready to just navigate around with our son.
So what you gonna do, Gina? You gonna have a virtual baby shower or no baby shower at all?
Child, I did. I had one yesterday. I had a virtual baby shower.
Yesterday?
Yeah, I'm a virtual baby. Yeah, it was good. You know, it's weird because my girlfriend brought it up. I wasn't even thinking about a baby shower because, to be honest with you, there's so much going on in the world. The last thing on my mind was a baby shower. The last thing on my mind, even when it was April, was like my birthday was in April, and everybody's like, you want to have a birthday party? And I was like, I don't care about my birthday right now. Like, there's so much going on. How could I possibly put anything before what's going on? But I knew that my in-laws who are in Indiana, like, they don't get to see me. They're not going to get to see me pregnant. They're not going to get to experience that. And for my parents who are out in Maryland, like, they haven't seen me. So I did it more for them, where I was like, let me do a Zoom, get my family on so everybody can see me. So we were on for like 2 hours, and it was actually really nice to see everybody. You know, we played a couple of baby shower games, and then we called it a night. It was really nice. So.
Now you talk about just being with somebody and then, you know, liking them even for the things that are kind of annoying if you don't like somebody, right? Are there things that you would say being home together, quarantined together, that you're like, this is only cute because I love him, but if I didn't love him, this wouldn't be cute at all?
Girl, yes. Everything. I think we both have things that we're looking at each other and we're just like, this is a tough one. Like, he's very talkative, like, all the time. He wants to talk all the time. Wants to talk. Wakes up in the morning ready to talk. Before bed, ready to talk. All day, ready to talk. It's like living with a toddler already. Like, he just wants to talk all day long. And I'm not like that. I get into my work.
Right now, you get your training right now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's walking around like, why?
Get ready.
But why?
No lie, literally like that. Like, but why? But I don't understand why. Why? Can we talk about this? And I'm like, what is there to talk about? I don't want to talk right now. And with me, I know with me, it's always my attitude. Like, my attitude fluctuates. Because if I'm in the middle of working on something and you're trying to talk to me, I will literally look at you like with the only like death stare of like, can you please shut the hell up? Like, I'm clearly, I have headphones on, I'm trying to do something and you're talking to me. Or he'll be telling a story and I'm just like, I do one of these, like, hurry up, let's go.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Get to the point of
you
what
say
you're
that in the middle of his talking?
Yeah.
In the middle of talking, you're like, come on.
Middle of his talking. Like, come on, my man, get to it, get to the point.
You know why? Because when you're from New York, you talk fast and you get to it. And people, like, that's a New York thing.
We get to the point real quick. So if you don't get to the point of your story quick enough for me, I'm like, all right, my man, like, I can't, I don't need all the sub characters. Yeah. Let's go. And he actually understands. He knows that he goes off on rants. So when I do that, he finally gets to the point. But I'm sure that there's plenty of times where he's like, this woman with her damn attitude.
It's funny.
Yeah, and he tries. I think with couples it happens.
Right.
How often is shit funny, Gina? You're 7 months pregnant, 3 months quarantine, systemic racism at an all-time high. How often is shit funny over the past few months?
You know what? That's a great question because it's something that a lot of comics, I know we've been talking about it. Like, we've talked about, like, how can we even think of finding the funny in everything that's going on? Mm-hmm. But I think for me, because I grew up using laughter as such a way to heal, like when tragic stuff would happen in my childhood, even when tragic stuff would happen as an adult, laughter was healing to me. So taking a situation that was painful and writing about it and being like, a lot of times what's funny about trauma is the irony of how it connects us all. Yes. Like, I'll tell you about my trauma, but it connects to your trauma. And that's what makes us go like, oh my God, for real, that happened to you? And I think that's where our work lies, in finding the connecting factors in all of the trauma that's going on, so that we can all be on the same page in looking at it from as unbiased of an opinion as we can. Because as comics, our job is supposed to be, look at it, be unbiased, and comment on it. Mm-hmm. And so as comics, content creators, whoever's looking for the funny, anything I've seen that has made me laugh is because it's connected to the trauma that's going on. You know, not ignoring it. Because I think ignoring it is a big mistake. If you're trying to create humor now without commenting on what's going on, people scroll past it. It's like, no, I don't want to see that right now. But if you can connect it and bring people in,
right,
with what you're talking about, like that to me has been the content that I've been glued on.
Yeah,
I agree.
Music,
I want to laugh right now. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to see the observations that some of my favorite comedians come with out of this past 3 months, 4 months.
Because like, it's so intelligent. You can make jokes and observations, but they also make us laugh, and it's so true. Because sometimes life is just so ironic, and it can be so funny, and it can be so smart, and those are the things that make you laugh.
Well, yeah, like you look at what's been going viral, like Michael Che's clip on Black Lives Matter.
That was good. That was great.
That's brilliant. What a brilliant way to describe exactly what's going on in the moment, way before this ever even happened.
Right.
It's perfect for this time. It's funny. It's relevant. It's honest. It's real. And that's the kind of stuff that, like, I'm drawn to, that makes me laugh.
Even the title, The Floor is Lava. Talk about the realness that comes from.
That was so, when we were trying to decide on a name, I've always loved specials or albums that are named after a song or a story that's part of the actual piece. And because I tell a story about The Floor is Lava and playing that game as a kid, when we were looking at names, that just stuck out so much. I was like, that's it, The Floor is Lava. Because everybody has a connection somehow to that.
Right.
They either know about the game, or they played the game, or they did the challenge when it was the Floor is Lava challenge. So I knew there would be a connection for a lot of people.
All right. Well, make sure you check that out. It is available now, streaming on Prime Video. Hilarious. Congratulations to you again, Gina, for doing yet another amazing special.
Thank you so much.
One last question, Gina. Do you think it's possible to make a tasteful joke about the protest and police brutality?
I think it is. You have to be skillful, though. When you think about people that joked about what was going on in their times, you think about the Carlins and the Richard Pryors, and you think about everybody who took what was going on in their time and made it funny. It's because they were brilliant at what they did. And they were able to look at the reality of it and feel what the people felt and write about it. You know, I think that's going to be the biggest factor if you're trying to write about something that's going on right now in terms of the protests and everything, even that ironic spin that people can put on. Somebody had it on a sign, and one of the protests, they had a sign that said, "So you're using police brutality at a protest against police brutality." Like, it's like irony like that, when you call it out, makes people wake up and laugh and just be like, that's ridiculous, just the ridiculousness of that thought. So I think it is possible. You just have to apply every single skill you have as a performer, as a creator. Like, you can't surface level it. You got to dig deep.
Absolutely.
And those signs be funny as fuck at those protests.
Hell yeah. They're hilarious.
I know what y'all think about those signs about if you like black penis. We've all seen those. You know, then you should be right out here.
There are so many of those.
Charlamagne
At least they're real.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Gina, and I love to see, I love the fact that I've watched your growth like amazingly over these past few years. So congratulations to you again. You know, we always support here on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, thank you so
thank
much.
you guys so much. Thanks for the support. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much. All righty now. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.